Cory Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw takes place this weekend in the main event of UFC Fight Night Vegas 32, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw, and I can't wait for this bantamweight main event, a true title elimination bout in the bantamweight division. TJ Dillashaw, Cory Sandhagen, amazing stuff. The winner of this one is going to get a title shot. I know some people out there are probably going to say, TJ Dillashaw's coming back after a suspension. He doesn't deserve to get a title shot after one win against Cory Sandhagen, but he's going to get a title shot. His name is TJ Dillashaw. He never lost a belt in the bantamweight division anyway. I know he cheated, but right now this is the matchup to make, and I believe the only reason that TJ Dillashaw has taken this matchup is because the UFC has promised him a title shot if he does win against Cory Sandhagen. But does he win against Cory Sandhagen? Because as I just said, Cory Sandhagen is amazing, okay? He has got 2 wins in a row now in the bantamweight division since his loss to Aljamain Sterling. Arguably shouldn't have even had to take this fight against TJ Dillashaw, but he's doing it anyway because of the controversy in the main event at UFC 259 between Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling. They've got to make that rematch. Eventually, Petr Yan will be crowned the champion of the bantamweight division again, and then we can return to normalcy. TJ Dillashaw, Cory Sandhagen, it's the fight to make right now, in all honesty. And Cory Sandhagen, man, people don't give this guy enough credit, I feel like. He doesn't get hyped up like a guy like Islam Makhachev does, or even like a Khamzat Chimaev, who's not even beat a ranked contender in the welterweight division. I mean, the hype should be behind Cory Sandhagen massively. I don't know why he's not really getting that big boost of followers. The guy literally got a wheel kick KO over Marlon Moraes. The guy known for kicking people's heads off. Sandhagen got a wheel kick KO against him, then turns around against Frankie Edgar and gets a flying knee KO in the first round. A wheel kick KO, then a flying knee KO. Back to back. That does not happen, ever. Even if people go out there with intention of creating a viral KO, they cannot perform that way. Cory Sandhagen is going out there with the intention of winning, and he just so happens to get a wheel kick, then a flying knee. He's on a different level right now in the bantamweight division. Do I believe TJ Dillashaw is going to be able to beat him? I think he's got a really good chance. I think some people are writing him off a little bit too soon here. This is TJ Dillashaw we're talking about. I know that a lot of people are going to say he's going to be a shell of himself when he comes back. I can almost guarantee you TJ Dillashaw is going to look absolutely shredded as usual at the weigh-ins. I don't expect TJ Dillashaw to come back with love handles and a flabby stomach and some fucking flabby tits on him. I think he's going to come back in absolutely amazing shape. I am one of the people that do believe that he wasn't cheating throughout his entire career, so I'm actually a little bit unbiased here with my prediction, in all honesty, because I could just sit here and say, TJ cheated, he was always a cheater, he wasn't good enough, and I think there's a lot of predictors that are actually going to say that and use that to sort of take into consideration who they're going to pick in this fight. But I feel like TJ Dillashaw actually might have been clean earlier in his career and maybe did just take that little bit of EPO when he did move down to the flyweight division. Even if he didn't, let's just talk about it in both circumstances so we can cover both bases. Cory Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw, I think Sandhagen's going to KO him in round 1. I don't see a way that TJ Dillashaw wins this one after a very long layoff of 2.5 years. He's going in there against Cory Sandhagen, who's been absolutely on fire in the first round recently. Like, wheel kick KO over Marlon Moraes, flying knee over Frankie Edgar. He seems locked in that first round now. Before, he used to be a little bit floaty around, used to take his time in fights, walk around the outside, see what his opponent had, and then just sort of decide what he was going to do in the second and third round and start to work a game plan on them and start to do really well. That's what he did against Rafael Assunção. Sort of hung back a little bit, saw what Assunção had, then started to implement his game plan in the later rounds. Cory Sandhagen can play that technical game, but recently he has been on search and destroy mode, and I think it's mainly to get back at being basically humiliated against Aljamain Sterling. Got taken down, rear naked choked within the first minute of the fight, I think it was. I mean, that is a really bad loss to have, especially when you're on the cusp of a title shot in the bantamweight division. Cory Sandhagen has bounced back since then, and he seems so focused early, and he said that was the reason why he lost against Aljamain Sterling after he lost. He said, I just didn't feel like I was that focused early on. I'm in the bantamweight division. I didn't think there was any chance I was going to get finished in the first minute. I know I need to be focused from the get-go now, and I think he's going to do that against TJ Dillashaw. Start really fast and catch him with a question mark kick KO, because Dillashaw, 2.5 years off, is a little bit chinny anyway and always has been in that bantamweight division. and he typically does get caught on the chin if he is going to lose. And he is a little bit of a slow starter as well. We saw that against Cody Garbrandt. In the second fight, he sort of had Garbrandt's number. Now that Garbrandt had been KO'd, Garbrandt was a little bit more hesitant, a little bit worse off in the second fight that he had with TJ Dillashaw. In the first fight that he had with TJ Dillashaw, Garbrandt knocked him down in the first round. Sometimes TJ needs a little bit of time to warm into fights, even against Dominic Cruz. In the later rounds of that fight, he started doing really good, but in the early rounds, he was kind of getting danced around a little bit. He needed to really catch his composure in those later rounds. Saw this against Renan Barão twice. A little bit of a slow start. I know he knocked him down in the first round of their first fight, but then again, it was still competitive in those early rounds, and then eventually he just started swarming Barão in those later rounds and really tuned him up in like rounds 4 and 5. I think it was round 5 the first time, round 4 the second time, or maybe even round 3 and 4. Who knows what it was, but TJ Dillashaw builds himself into fights. I know he has a little bit of power, but I don't see him KOing Cory Sandhagen early here. Sandhagen's got a really, really amazing chin, pretty underrated for him, and also he's really, really lanky, moves around a lot, he's kind of hard to catch on a chin in general. I think Cory Sandhagen's going to win this one in the first round. I like TJ Dillashaw. He probably does have a grappling advantage, but Cory Sandhagen, again, so tall for the bantamweight division. You think Sean O'Malley's tall? Cory Sandhagen's probably the lankiest bantamweight there is. And when you've got a guy that tall in the octagon who knows how to defensively grapple in MMA, I don't think TJ Dillashaw is going to be able to work grappling on him. If you look at Dillashaw's career, the only real people he's been able to out-grapple have been shorter opponents. He couldn't get down Cody Garbrandt, and he tried a couple of times there in their fights. Tried to shoot a couple of takedowns, got stuffed by Garbrandt and caught with a couple of punches here and there. Tried to get down a Sunsao, which he did do, but then again, a Sunsao gave him a lot of problems. Got back up. I know people see it as Dillashaw beat a Sunsao the second time, but like, that was a reasonably competitive fight. Again, it wasn't like the Lineker shutout performance where TJ Dillashaw just puts on an absolute clinic against a smaller opponent and just absolutely destroys him in the grappling realm. The Assunção fight was reasonably close for Dillashaw back in the day, and of course he does have that loss to Rafael Assunção as well. I believe that Cory Sandhagen's got this one in the bag. I think he's better in the striking department than TJ Dillashaw. I think Dillashaw's usual advantage in the bantamweight division was having more tools than his opponent. That was Dillashaw's main weapon. Everyone always said that. Cody Garbrandt was the sledgehammer. TJ Dillashaw was the Swiss Army knife. Now TJ Dillashaw is not really the Swiss Army knife, in all honesty. Like, it's Cory Sandhagen. He kind of does what TJ Dillashaw does, but more lethal. Like, Dillashaw's not knocking people out with wheel kicks. Dillashaw's not landing flying knees. He might throw a head kick here and there, but that's like Cory Sandhagen's jab. I think that Dillashaw used to be that Swiss Army knife, and now he's maybe going to look like the hammer out there, while Sandhagen will take up the role as the Swiss Army knife. And I think he's going to put a clinic on Dillashaw early. I can see him chewing up the inside leg of Dillashaw. Dillashaw takes big pronounced steps whenever he's going to start his exchanges, and against a rangier opponent like Cory Sandhagen, I think Dillashaw's going to have to use a lot of his setups to get on the inside. You even saw it against Cody Garbrandt. Dillashaw knew he couldn't just stay in the pocket against Garbrandt. Garbrandt was outranging him a little bit there, so Dillashaw had to take little steps, like a little 1-2 shift into a left hook, or like a 1-2 shift into a head kick afterwards. He was setting up so much in the first round that Dwayne Ludwig even said to him, you got to start just blasting kicks in the pocket if we're going to beat this guy. You can't keep trying to set things up from the outside to try and find your way in. But I think he's going to have to against Sandhagen. Sandhagen's got a reach advantage, and more importantly, a leg reach advantage by far. Sandhagen is going to be much taller than TJ Dillashaw in there and make him look quite small, in all honesty. I think Dillashaw, although he looked really drained at flyweight, I think he's going to look like a flyweight in there against Cory Sandhagen. We'll see how it goes, but I've got Cory Sandhagen by first round KO. I can see him chewing up the inside leg of TJ Dillashaw, throwing front kicks to the stomach of TJ Dillashaw. As Dillashaw starts to get used to the inside leg kicks and the front kick to the stomach, I think Sandhagen's going to fake him out, go for a question mark kick, throw that fake front kick, whip it around up the top, and catch TJ Dillashaw on the head. He's not a fucking dinosaur. Dillashaw. Either way, he's going to catch Dillashaw on the head with the question mark kick as Dillashaw blocks low, finish him off with ground and pound shots. Dillashaw's going to be coming up on a single leg at the end of it, and he's going to complain about an early stoppage and say it was my big comeback fight. You should have let me go for the death. But he's going to be out of it, clinging onto a leg of Sandhagen as Sandhagen beats his head in. Sort of like an Anthony Smith versus Thiago Santos stoppage, if you remember that one. Just without the body damage in the first place. I think it's going to be a head kick KO with a question mark kick. I mean, Sandhagen just got a lot of advantages over TJ Dillashaw. And I think Dillashaw's resume is kind of like... a win over Garbrandt don't really mean much anymore. Like, I mean, since Munoz KO'd him in the first round and Font schooled him, Garbrandt's kind of got exposed as, like, a one-hit wonder, kind of, like, just without the technical advantages of anyone else in the division. Like, sure, Garbrandt has power, and maybe he actually does have a decent chin after that Rob Font fight, but, I feel like his speed and power took him so far to the belt, and then he just sort of got caught up trying to go technique for technique with people, and he failed doing so. I don't feel like Garbrandt is a great win anymore for TJ Dillashaw. And then you look back beyond that, Lineker, I know he's doing okay at 1FC now, but again, he's at 1FC, not even in the UFC anymore. And also Cory Sandhagen beat him. A close fight, though, Cory Sandhagen had, but Sandhagen doesn't have the option to go for the grappling-heavy approach that Dillashaw does against a guy like John Lineker, so he had to strike with John Lineker for 3 rounds, which was very dangerous, and actually Dillashaw had some problems on the feet with John Lineker as much as they were on the feet in their fight. Dillashaw eventually, of course, did his slick takedowns, got Lineker to the ground. His win over a Sunsao, where is a Sunsao in the rankings right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, if Dillashaw loses this one, he's going to go below Dominic Cruz in the rankings. I can see him maybe going down to number 9 or 10. His wins don't hold too much weight anymore. I know that Cory Sandhagen has the same ones, but he also has the win over Marlon Moraes as well, which is like the new wave guy that was coming up at the time that TJ Dillashaw had left the bantamweight division. In fact, he was right there ready for a title shot if Dillashaw moved back up. Henry Cejudo versus Marlon Moraes happened after Dillashaw left the division. Marlon Moraes was the top guy at the time. Sandhagen destroys him. I know that Cejudo destroyed Moraes first, but it's still Marlon Moraes. It's a better version of Marlon Moraes than Rob Font got, I guess, because Font took a version of Marlon Moraes who took a real quick turnaround after the Sandhagen loss. I think Cory Sandhagen is amazing. He's got a strikes landed per minute advantage. He puts more volume out there than TJ Dillashaw. TJ Dillashaw has less volume than Cory Sandhagen in his career. This is TJ Dillashaw we're talking about here. Over his whole career, Sandhagen still has a higher output than him, by far. Like 6.85 to 5.37. And Dillashaw's supposed to be the guy with the EPO and the volume and the output. And still, natural Sandhagen is putting out more volume than him. Amazing stuff. Striking accuracy, 41% for TJ Dillashaw. But Dillashaw throws so many fake shots and punches and kicks that aren't even meant to land. It's kind of hard to use that as a gauge. But then again, so does Cory Sandhagen. 48% to 41% for Cory Sandhagen there. Strikes absorbed per minute, more for Cory Sandhagen. Defense stats, more for TJ Dillashaw. Takedowns averaged, Dillashaw barely is ahead. Takedown accuracy, Sandhagen's ahead. Defense-wise, Dillashaw has really amazing takedown defense, in all honesty. 86% in the bantamweight division, which is really crazy because they can wrestle at bantamweight. 0.5 submission average, no one cares about that. I'm saying Cory Sandhagen gets this one done. The time off, the jitteriness of Dillashaw, the big main event. I wonder if it's in front of a crowd. I think it will be, but it will be the smaller crowd, right? I know Dillashaw's been on The Ultimate Fighter, so he does actually have that experience. But to come back under these circumstances, I'd rather come back with a big crowd, so it's something that I was used to before I left the game a couple of years ago. He's coming back into the fucking smaller octagon for the first time in ages. Sandhagen's fought there a couple of times in front of no fans. He's kind of used to it now. I think TJ Dillashaw's going to get a little bit jittery at the start, look a little bit like Dricus du Plessis in there in round 1, be a little bit all over the place and untechnical. And he's not going to have enough time to wear into the fight. I don't think he's going to have enough time and enough chances against Cory Sandhagen to get into the second and third round and start working in some takedowns and working in some punches. And if you do want to look at the grappling for TJ Dillashaw, I believe Cory Sandhagen can grapple with him. Sandhagen showed amazing takedown defense against Rafael Sunsao, amazing scrambles as well, always found a way to stay on top. He's so tall and he knows how to keep his body weight above his opponent because of how tall he is. TJ Dillashaw requires little switch double legs where he puts you straight into the canvas and he gets his whole body weight over the top of you. Then he gets his ass up nice and high whenever he's got the takedown, tries to get over your legs and into half guard or something like that. Sandhagen's so tall, it's so hard to get body weight over the top of him. I think that doesn't benefit TJ Dillashaw's style of takedowns. Dillashaw's not the kind of guy to go for body locks and sweeps. I think that's kind of what you have to do against taller opponents sometimes. I don't think he's going to get any single legs against a taller guy with long legs. Hard to get over the top of him with their own leg. They're very flexible guys and they can bounce around on one leg for as long as they want to. It's so difficult for Dillashaw, this matchup. He could get it done, and if he does, I'll give him full respect. He's back in the mix and he's doing it clean, I guess we can assume. I just don't think he does. 5'11 to 5'6. And he's not even, like, that much thicker than Dillashaw. It's crazy how Sandhagen makes weight, and I think he's going to use it to his advantage. 3-inch reach advantage with the hands, longer reach advantage with the legs. And I think Dillashaw's game plan of usually staying on the outside and picking at his opponents with kicks is not going to work against Cory Sandhagen. I rate him for taking this matchup. I really do. You could get easier matchups than this and try and make your claim for a title shot that way. But he wants undeniable title shot if he wins, and Cory Sandhagen's that guy. He is that guy, pal. You're not that guy. TJ Dillashaw's not that guy. He's not that guy, pal. I'm looking forward to seeing him lose. Well, I'm not really. TJ Dillashaw's my favourite fighter ever. I'm not looking forward to seeing him lose. I know people don't like him because he was a cheater. The amount of entertainment that Dillashaw gave me in his prime years can never be given back. Like, I'll never see that again. Dillashaw in his prime was just an absolute pleasure to watch in every single way. He was the most technical guy, maybe and he had the power as well, which is something that Demetrius Johnson lacked back then. Man, I would have loved to have seen that fight as well. Demetrius Johnson versus TJ Dillashaw. That got taken away from us. Cejudo didn't win against fucking DJ the second time. I'm just going to fucking put that out there. I'm not just having a fucking rage for no reason. Fucking DJ got robbed in the rematch against Cejudo and no one mentions it. I think he won that fight 3-2, but whatever. Waiting for the Weasel's breakdown on that one. I wonder if he'll suspiciously release it tomorrow, because I know he's fucking watching. Fucking Weasel. Weasel! Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Cory Sandhagen, ? Kick KO in the first round. Goodbye. I'll see you later.